Balchoglu from Turkey. No idea. Yeah, let's try the Scandinavian. Takes. Like to round it up with the knight. Very comparable rating. It goes for the gambit line. Okay. Funny enough, white can play d4 there, and then it transposes into some kind of line of a Caro-Kann, the Panov-Botvinnik attack. But this line, this is a gambit. He got a pawn. I get good control of the dark squares in the center. So this guy is also a weak point. But I like to develop the dark squared bishop first and get castled. But if I get this bishop to here, that's actually pretty strong. Yeah, normally they play that. Very sensible move. And the computer likes bringing the bishop here and just pushing this pawn anyway. Kind of dissolving the center. Should I kick that bishop first? I think so. It'll keep a knight from coming to this square later. He may not. It may not break the pin because the bishop can retreat to here, but yeah, now we can bring this bishop out, so it's hitting here, and it has a retreat square. Okay, I'm wondering about if I can really just double here on this pawn in the center. I guess if I, say, bring a rook here and pile up on this pawn, that if there's trades here, this piece will become undefended in a way. I'll have to take back with a pawn. It's not undefended, but if I have to take back with a pawn, it's not optimal. Okay, where is that knight going? Is it going here? In which case, I don't really want to put a rook here. Or is it going here to try and chase my queen away from that square? Maybe I should just put the rook here and go ahead and push this pawn here and dissolve things in the center. If I'm going to do that, I can push immediately. Knight takes, knight takes. Well, the queen. I don't necessarily want a queen trade. So if I went here with the knight, it's loose. So he could take this pawn, for example, and then take this knight. I'll put the rook here anyway. Good, solid development. See what he does. Yeah, maybe I should drop the queen back to here and then push the pawn, so that when this opens up, there's not a queen trade. I could even put the rook here in preparation. Yeah, let's do that now. Unpin that pawn immediately. Put a rook here and then push this pawn forward. Yeah, I didn't want the queen here until he'd moved his bishop off this diagonal, because otherwise this knight coming in here is pretty nasty. A nasty threat. Pawn forward, pawn takes, knight takes, knight takes, bishop takes. This bishop is looking into mostly an empty diagonal, though there are a few places maybe it could go to cause trouble. Well, everything seems defended. So he moved his queen away from the pin and provides some support for this square. So if I go here anyway, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, or I go here, say he does pawn takes first, knight takes, bishop takes. Yeah, I don't think he can stop me from pushing, so I think it's something I should do here. Now there's a threat of taking this bishop and attacking the queen. The knight there will defend my bishop, so he has to take, I think, and then I can take here. This is with tempo because it's hitting his queen. Got pretty good domination of the center here. So what to do? How to really exploit this? If I take the knight and he takes back, I take the rook, queen takes, rook takes. How's that work? I take the rook, he takes queen, I take the queen, he takes the rook. So we just trade rook and queen for rook and queen. Now we'll just have a knight here. This bishop is actually loose because of this pin. Maybe I'll go over here. I was just looking at moves like knight into the center, but they seem to not accomplish much. Just provoke some trades. So when I play the queen here, what does he do to defend the bishop? He could move the king up, he could move the bishop back, he could move the bishop forward. Then maybe I could trade this knight off and bring this knight in. Might be more valuable then. I can do that without, without losing my queen. I've had good results with this gambit over the years, so I think it's a good one. It evaluates well in the computer too. The computer likes it. But I can't say there's a real formula for winning. Just got to kind of work your way through it. But you have such good piece activity. He's looking to kick my bishop. The bishop can go here and still maintaining this pin. And after the rook moves, I can take his bishop. Oh, I can't. But I do get the knight here in the center. Yeah, I've been having curious blind spots today. So now this This bishop is not loose anymore. There is a check here. Takes with a pawn. Don't see that leading anywhere. Let's go after this bishop. There is a threat here. Just trading queens, huh? So after I take that, can I do anything here against these pawns? Actually, yeah, there wasn't even a threat there because the bishop was defending here. Well, I may have an advantage on time here. If I can find ways to complicate the thing. He's hitting this pawn. I want to push this pawn forward. The bishop is protecting this square. Yeah, let's go. Pawn takes pawn. Rook takes pawn. I will take that. Pinning this guy. Not sure what that does. I will take here. So I've got my pawn back. And I'm hitting this loose rook. So what happens? He takes here with check, so it's not loose really. So I should defend here. What's the best way to defend? Like so. Okay, he just dropped back there. It's too bad this bishop doesn't move with check. Let's unpin the bishop. And he ran out of time. Yeah, I didn't really have anything at the end. I bet it's, let's go ahead and take a quick look. See what the computer says. Yeah, dead even. Yeah, I just didn't have anything at the end there. But, well, I had black, so that is okay, I guess. Better than losing anyway. Let's play a rapid game. Here we go. I can play with e4, K knight, 1948. He's got a Sicilian. Playing the main line with d6. And he's going to go for the Najdorf. Yeah, classical. A very classical line, the Najdorf. Very solid. And Scandinavian style with the e6 rather than e5. Defend the knight. So I'm setting up for an English attack. And it's interesting, he hasn't pushed any pawns over here. I'm going to go ahead and move my king over one step before I start throwing my pawns forward two. And now we just do the pawn storm here. We should slow down. Yeah, both of us still have 10 minutes on our clock, which is what we started with. Yeah, now this knight can be kicked, so you always want to make sure you've got a space for it. Here it can go. Blocking in this bishop. You know, one idea is to go ahead and move this bishop out so that this knight can come here without blocking the bishop. You have to make sure this knight is defended. Yep. So even though he started later, his pawns advanced faster. Well, I have kind of a slow rolling pawn advance over here. Because I'm going to push this one. The idea here is to push this pawn first and then push this one so that this knight can't go to this square. He's got to go back. And now let's kick that knight. Then after the knight moves, I think it only has one move, back to e8. Then you can play g6 and force some kind of exchange. He can do the same thing here. He can play b3 and force some kind of exchange. My plan is to push the a pawn, let him take here, and then just take back. And on this side, my plan is to open up the g file and try and get something going, or the h file, depending on what he does here. So it'll be the g file then. You kept the h file closed. So I can put pressure on here. There's things to consider. I guess if I take this knight and he takes back with the bishop, then this pawn is loose, so this knight can come in hitting the pawn. I take this knight, it leaves this momentarily undefended. How about this? Put the bishop here. What happens if he pushes the pawn? I can take it twice. I guess that's okay. If he pushes the d-pawn, I can just take it. If he doesn't push the d-pawn, I'm threatening to take his knight and then take the e-pawn. And the other threat I have is if I put a rook on this file, then I'm threatening to take this pawn. Let's go here first, though. This also kind of acts as a defense. Adds a little more oomph to these pawns here, huh? See what he plans to do to hold on to things. Well, a very classical Sicilian position, the double-edged opposite side castling, opposite side pawn storms, mutual pawn storms, I guess. So I guess it was worth it, you know, sometimes, and I don't know whether to allow the knight to be pushed here or if it's better to move the bishop out first, but it was good I moved the bishop out, I think. It's looking like it at this point. If the bishop were here and the knight were here, then the bishop could move out maybe in this diagonal. Yeah, he can do something like that. So he's hitting this pawn. When I take here, though, I'm hitting his queen. I take here. He takes here. I take the queen. He takes my queen. I take back. He takes back, and then I can take his rook. Or I take here. He takes back. I take here. And then he takes upon hitting my queen. I take here with check first, and then move my queen. So I think either way, I take here. He's going to take my bishop. So I have to go with the bishop first, huh? So, yeah, he can take this pawn, hitting my queen. I can take his queen. He can take my queen. I take his knight. He takes my knight. Or after he takes the pawn, I could move my queen. Still have rook to g1. I just have to see what he does. But if he doesn't grab the pawn, then I'll just be up a pawn. And then I'll have to decide. He could take that pawn with the rook, I guess. And then he will be threatening knight to here, hitting my queen and bishop if he's got a rook here, for example. But then I would take his queen. So yeah, his choices are to take here with the knight or to move his queen. That's what I see. So he moved his queen. Now, what are my choices? Do I have something? First of all, I could just come back and defend this pawn, but it's not actually defended because he's got two attackers and I only have one. How about if I push this pawn forward, threatening his knight? His knight will go here, hitting my queen. Yeah, I guess that's no good. So knight back, knight takes pawn. He won't take with the rook, I guess, because that would be giving up the exchange for not much. And I take with the knight. He takes back with the rook, hitting my bishop. I can go here with check. The rook can come back, and then my other knight can come into the game somehow. Where would this knight like to go? Anyway, seems like I have to retreat that. He could go here with his knight still. If he wants to just, yeah. If he wants to just acquire the bishop pair and not worry about this pawn. Well, he's not getting the bishop pair, but he's getting rid of my bishop. Maybe he fears the bishop. But I think he could have taken the pawn. I think that was better. So what can I do? I think pushing these pawns forward is still good. Knight here is looking interesting too. And of course rook to g1 still, pinning the g pawn. Yeah, I think I would go rook g1 here. If I have the opportunity, if there's no forcing move. He could consider a move like bishop to g5 or queen g5 if he wants to trade. I could push this pawn because I have a queen and a knight. Bishop takes, knight takes. So I could avoid the trade and kick that bishop back. So he goes there with the bishop. Yeah, I don't want to allow him to take my other knight or move it out of position. So I'm going to go here. There is a problem with that. I have to pay attention to this coordination of rook and bishop. So if I move the knight out of the way, and he pushes the pawn, and say I push here, could take. He takes with the rook. He can't take with the rook. Anyway, let's start with the rook move. Let him take here if he wants to. That'll get rid of one of his good pieces. Okay, he noticed. He noticed. Then let's bring this knight in. Maybe that's not so great. He can pin it now. Yeah, if I can get the knight to this square, then I'll be able to do this pawn push again. But right at the moment, he can pin that knight. I'll have to use this other knight, I guess, to try and chase it away. And the squares. If I go here, queen can actually take that. Knight takes queen, bishop takes queen. If he's pinned, if his bishop is here pinning my knight, and I go here to drive his bishop away, he can actually just take it with his queen. I take back. I get a queen for a knight, but then he gets a queen with no cost, a free queen. Ooh, so he didn't do that. So let's go here. Yeah, I mean, he's looking at this good diagonal here, I guess. But sometimes there are other opportunities. Keep an open mind, you know. Aha. Oh, okay. He's going to get this pawn back after all of that. Okay. Yeah. Pulled my queen away from that pawn. I have two pieces attacking here, but he's got knight and queen defending and a king. It's pretty well defended. I could put a rook here, hitting this pawn, and then maybe do something with my knight. I can move the knight with check, and his queen is undefended. So now I can push this pawn forward. I could have done it before, and if he takes, And I can move the knight here with check. Oh, we could take with the knight and then take his queen. It would be good, except he can take with his knight. Okay, what do I do here? Do I push? My normal response is just to push a pawn like this and let him take here. I think in this case I can take first. Queen's defending this square. And then I can push. So I've got a passed pawn here for the endgame. And I guess simply retreating the knight and taking this pawn. Now I have to attack this with a knight if I want to win it. So where can I attack that pawn from? This square maybe? So some journey like this, knight here to here, would round up this pawn. It's a good central pawn, and I don't think he can easily defend it. What he can do is go after this pawn that's needed to defend this rook. Yeah, if he takes this pawn, I'll have to move the rook. Let's see if he finds that idea. Okay, he can put his rook here. You know what? Oh, there's a fork. Let's take advantage of the fork. I was wondering if I should just retreat this rook so that I can oppose here and then still have my back rank covered. I'm in the precarious position on the back rank with this pawn covering the escape squares, but I think winning the exchange here is good. Yeah, so he can go there with the queen, drive me into the corner. Let's take this. He could go here with the queen, I mean. So, but now I can put my rook here, drive his queen away from this spot. Try and keep control of this spot. Yeah, maybe I will push this pawn even as a sacrifice just so I can get my queen on this good diagonal here. Nice diagonal running between the two kings. Queen would threaten all kinds of mayhem. This doesn't work. Surely. Surely this does not work. Okay, he had a momentary lapse of judgment there. I think he didn't, yeah, he must have calculated something and it just didn't work out. So anyway, interesting game, I thought. Very typical Sicilian kind of game. And hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye now.